The alarm bells rang across Titan Base as Captain Jake Morrison rushed to the communication center. Red lights flashed in the corridors while soldiers ran to their positions. Something big was happening, and Jake could feel it in his bones. "Sir, we have an incoming transmission from unknown sources," said Lieutenant Amy Foster, her fingers dancing across the control panel. "The signal is coming from outside our solar system." Jake walked into the main communication room, where dozens of screens showed star maps and data streams. Admiral Lisa Carter stood in the center, her face serious as she watched the largest screen. She was Earth's top military leader, and Jake had never seen her look so worried. "Put it through," Carter ordered. The screen flickered, and suddenly, they were looking at something that made everyone in the room step back. The creature on the screen was tall and made of what looked like blue crystal. It had 6 arms and multiple eyes that glowed with cold light. When it spoke, its voice came through the speakers like broken glass. "Primitive beings of the third planet," the alien said. "I am High Regent Vex Thaler of the Zephyrian Collective. We have come to offer you a choice." Carter stepped forward. "This is Admiral Lisa Carter of Earth Defense Force. State your business." The alien's crystal face seemed to smile, though it was hard to tell. "Your business is simple, Admiral Carter. You will surrender your world and your people to the Collective. You have 7 of your days to decide." "And if we refuse?" Carter asked, though Jake could see she already knew the answer. "Then your planet will be destroyed, and your species will end," Vexathaler replied without emotion. "We have done this 47 times before. Every intelligent species makes the right choice when they see our fleet." The screen changed to show space beyond Pluto. Jake felt his mouth go dry as he saw what waited there. Thousands of massive ships floated in perfect formation. Each ship was huge, bigger than any city on Earth. Their dark hulls reflected starlight, like black mirrors. 3,000 ships, reported Dr. Elena Vasquez, the head scientist who studied alien life. Each one carries enough weapons to destroy a moon. Their technology is hundreds of years ahead of ours. The alien regent appeared on screen again. "We are not cruel humans. Those who surrender become part of the Collective. You will work in our mines and build our cities. Your children will have food and shelter. It is a good life for a lesser species." "Lesser species?" Carter's voice was cold now. "Of course. You have not even left your own solar system. You fight wars over resources and land. You are children playing with primitive weapons. The Collective brings order to chaos." Jake watched as Carter's hands closed into fists. He had served under her for 5 years and knew that look. The Admiral was angry, but she was also thinking. Carter never made decisions when she was angry. "We need time to discuss this with our leaders," Carter said. 7 days, Vexathaler repeated. "When your sun rises for the 7th time, we will have your answer. Choose wisely, Admiral Carter. We prefer to add new members rather than create empty worlds." The transmission ended and the room fell silent. Jake looked around at the faces of his fellow officers. Some looked scared, others angry, but all of them looked to Carter for guidance. "Ma'am," said Commander Ryan Burke, "what are our options? Those ships could wipe out every city on Earth in minutes." Carter walked to the sealed vault at the back of the room. Jake had always wondered what was in there. Only Carter and a few others had access to it. She placed her hand on the scanner, and the heavy door opened. "Our options," Carter said, "are better than they think." Inside the vault, Jake could see files marked with symbols he didn't recognize. There were technical drawings of ships that looked nothing like anything in Earth's current fleet. Computer screens showed designs that seemed impossible. "Project Retribution," Carter said quietly. "We've been working on this for 10 years, ever since our deep space probes detected signs of alien civilizations. We knew this day would come." Dr. Vasquez stepped closer to look at the files. "Lisa, these designs, they're not based on any known physics. How is this possible?" "Because we didn't limit ourselves to known physics," Carter replied. "While other species built bigger and better versions of the same weapons, we asked a different question. What if we could change the rules of the game completely?" Jake studied the ship designs on the screens. The vessels looked sleek and dangerous, but they were much smaller than the alien ships. "Admiral, How can these ships fight against 3,000 alien warships? Carter smiled for the first time since the transmission began. Captain Morrison, they can't. That's why we're only sending one. The room erupted in confused voices. Commander Burke spoke over the noise. One ship? Ma'am, with respect, that sounds like suicide. It would be, Carter agreed, if we were planning to fight them the way they expect. But the Zephyrians have made one critical mistake in their analysis of humanity. What mistake? Dr. Vasquez asked. Carter pointed to the largest ship design on the screen. It was beautiful and terrible at the same time, covered in weapons that Jake couldn't identify. The name at the bottom read UES Retribution. They assume that because we're primitive, we think like primitives. They expect us to either surrender or throw everything we have at them in a desperate last stand. They've seen it 47 times before. But we're not going to do either, Jake realized. Exactly. We're going to do something they've never seen before. Something no species in the galaxy has ever done. Carter's smile was cold now. We're going to send them one ship, and we're going to negotiate from a position they won't expect. Lieutenant Foster looked up from her console. Admiral, incoming message from Europa Base. They report the Retribution is ready for launch. Carter nodded. Signal Commander Alex Stone. Tell him it's time to show the galaxy what humans are really capable of. Jake felt a chill run down his spine. He didn't know what Project Retribution really was, but he could see the confidence in Carter's eyes. For the first time since the alien ultimatum, he felt hope. The Zephyrians thought they were dealing with a primitive species that would either surrender or die fighting uselessly. They were about to learn that humans had spent their entire history preparing for fights they couldn't win through conventional means, and humanity had become very good at winning impossible fights. Commander Alex Stone sat in the captain's chair of the UES Retribution as the ship emerged from the hidden construction bays beneath Europa's ice. The launch had been smooth, but Alex knew the real test was just beginning. Behind him, his crew worked at their stations with calm efficiency. Navigation report, Alex called out. Course set for the Zephyrian fleet position, replied Lieutenant Katie Bell from the navigation console. We'll reach them in 6 hours at current speed. Alex looked around the bridge of humanity's most advanced ship. The Retribution was sleek and black, designed to look dangerous even when standing still. But its real power was hidden beneath the hull and systems that most of Earth's scientists still couldn't fully understand. Chief Engineer Bobby Martinez, how are our power levels? All systems running perfectly, sir, Martinez replied from his engineering station. The new reactors are producing more energy than we know what to do with. We could power half of Earth with this ship. Let's hope we don't need to use all of it, Alex said quietly. At the weapons console, Officer Claire Wilson ran final checks on systems that had never been tested in real combat. Sir, all weapon systems are online and ready, though I still think this plan is crazy. Crazy plans are the best kind, replied Communications Officer Tony Garcia with a grin. The aliens won't see it coming. Alex stood up and walked to the main screen, which showed the approaching Zephyrian fleet. 3,000 massive ships waited in perfect formation, their hulls dark against the stars. Each ship was easily 20 times larger than the Retribution, and their combined firepower could destroy planets. Sir, Katie Bell reported, we're being scanned by the alien fleet. They've detected us. Let them scan, Alex said. I want them to see exactly one human ship approaching their entire armada. On the communications console, Tony Garcia's equipment lit up with incoming signals. Commander, we're receiving a transmission from the Zephyrian flagship. High Regent Vexithaler wants to speak with us. Put him on screen. The crystal alien appeared on the main display, his multiple eyes focused on Alex with what seemed like confusion. Behind the Regent, Alex could see other aliens moving around what looked like a massive command center. Human vessel, Vexithaler said. You are either very brave or very foolish. We count only one ship approaching our fleet. That's correct, Alex replied calmly. One ship is all we need. Several of the alien officers behind Vexthalar made sounds that the translators couldn't interpret. The Regent himself seemed to pause, as if he couldn't believe what he had heard. Perhaps your translators are malfunctioning, Vexthaler said slowly. You face 3,000 warships, each capable of destroying your largest cities. You bring one small vessel. I heard you correctly the first time, Alex said. We're here to discuss your ultimatum. Discuss? The alien regent's voice rose, in pitch. There is nothing to discuss. You will surrender, or you will be destroyed. Those are your only options. Alex sat back down in his captain's chair and smiled. Actually, there's a third option you haven't considered. And what might that be? You could leave our solar system and never come back. The bridge of the Zephyrian flagship erupted in what the translators rendered as laughter. Vexthaler's crystal face seemed to shimmer with amusement. One human ship, against our entire armada, and you threaten us. Your species is even more primitive than our intelligence reports suggested. Dr. Sam Rogers, the Retribution's science officer, looked up from his console. Sir, they're powering up their weapons. I'm reading massive energy buildups across their entire fleet. Let them power up, Alex said. Tony, open a channel to the entire Zephyrian fleet. I want every ship to hear this. Channel open, sir. Alex stood up again and faced the screen. This is Commander Alex Stone of the United Earthship Retribution. I'm speaking to every member of the Zephyrian collective fleet. You came to our solar system believing you understood humanity. You were wrong. Commander Stone, Vexthaler interrupted. You are wasting our time. Surrender now, and your deaths will be quick. High Regent, you've conquered 47 species using the same strategy. Overwhelming numbers, superior technology, and the threat of total destruction. It's worked because every species you've encountered thinks the same way you do. Alex walked closer to the screen. But humans don't think like other species. When we're faced with impossible odds, we don't surrender. We change the rules. What are you talking about? The alien regent's voice carried a note of uncertainty now. Chief Martinez, Alex called out, bring the Nexus drive online. Aye, sir. Spatial manipulation systems activating now. Around the Retribution, space itself began to change. The stars seemed to bend and twist as the ship's most advanced technology came online. The vessel didn't just move through space anymore. It controlled the fabric of reality around it. On the alien flagship, alarms began to sound. Alex could see Zephyrian officers running between consoles as their instruments registered readings they couldn't understand. Impossible, Vexthaler whispered. Our sensors show nothing. No energy signatures, no weapon charging. What are you doing? We're demonstrating why you should have asked more questions before threatening Earth, Alex replied. Claire, select the lead dreadnought for a demonstration. Target selected, sir. Wilson reported from her weapons console. Void lance ready to fire. What is a void lance? Vexthaler demanded. Alex smiled coldly. You're about to find out. Fire. What happened next changed everything. The Retribution didn't launch missiles or fire energy beams. Instead, it created a perfect sphere of nothing around the target ship. The massive Zephyrian dreadnought didn't explode or break apart. It simply stopped existing, along with a perfectly round section of space around it. The alien fleet fell silent. No more alarms, no more weapons charging, no more confident voices on the communication channels. For the first time in their long history of conquest, the Zephyrians had encountered something they couldn't understand or fight. How? Vexthaler's voice was barely a whisper. We don't fight with energy or matter, Alex explained patiently. We fight with the laws of physics themselves, your shields, your armor, your superior numbers. None of it matters when we can simply edit you out of existence. Dr. Rogers looked up from his science console. Sir, the entire alien fleet is powering down weapons and sending distress signals. I think they want to talk. Alex nodded and sat back down in his captain's chair. Now, we negotiate. The silence that followed the destruction of the Zephyrian dreadnought stretched across space like a physical thing. Commander Alex Stone watched his instruments as 3,000 alien ships suddenly found themselves facing something they had never encountered before, a weapon that didn't follow any rules they understood. Sir, reported Dr. Sam Rogers from his science station. "I'm reading massive power fluctuations across the alien fleet. Their ships are trying to recalibrate their shields, but they don't know what they're defending against." High Regent Vexa Thaler appeared on the main screen again, but his crystal face had lost all its earlier confidence. Behind him, Alex could see alien officers running between consoles while alarms flashed throughout their command center. Commander Stone, the Regent's voice trembled slightly. "What you have done should be impossible. Our ship simply ceased to exist. No debris, no energy signature, nothing." "That's correct," Alex replied calmly. "Your dreadnought didn't die. It was never there to begin with, at least not anymore." Chief Engineer Bobby Martinez looked up from his console. "Sir, their entire fleet is running deep scans on us. They're trying to figure out how our weapons work." "Let them scan," Alex said. "They won't find anything they can understand." The truth was that humanity's greatest weapon wasn't really a weapon at all. While other species had spent thousands of years perfecting ways to destroy things with energy and matter, human scientists had asked a different question. What if they could convince reality itself that something had never existed? "Claire," Alex called to his weapons officer, "show the Regent our targeting display." Officer Claire Wilson nodded and transferred her weapons console to the main screen. Vex Thaler and his officers could now see a tactical display that showed every ship in their fleet. Small red dots marked each vessel, and numbers showed their exact positions, speeds, and power levels. "As you can see," Alex explained, "we have precise targeting locks on every ship in your armada. The Void Lance doesn't miss, and it doesn't care how big your ships are or how thick your armor is." "This is impossible," whispered one of the alien officers behind Vex Thaler. "No species has ever developed weapons that manipulate space-time directly." "No species except humans," Alex corrected. "You see, while you were conquering other civilizations and perfecting old technology, we were solving different problems. We learned how to bend reality instead of just bending metal." Dr. Rogers brought up a new display showing the science behind humanity's breakthrough. "Regent Vex Thaler, your species and all the others you've conquered developed technology by building bigger and better versions of the same basic concepts. Stronger shields, more powerful energy weapons, faster engines. But humans approach the problem differently," Alex continued. "We asked why we should accept the limitations of normal physics when we could learn to rewrite them instead." Lieutenant Katie Bell reported from navigation. "Sir, several alien ships are trying to retreat, but they seem to be having engine problems. That's because space around their fleet is currently locked in a manipulation field," explained Chief Martinez. "They can't go to faster than light speed while we have them targeted." High Regent Vex Thaler's multiple eyes focused on Alex with what looked like growing fear. "You're holding our entire fleet hostage. I'm demonstrating why you should have learned more about humanity before threatening us," Alex replied. "Tell me, Regent, in all your conquests, have you ever encountered a species that could eliminate your ships without firing a single conventional weapon?" "Never," Vex Thaler admitted quietly. "Have you ever faced an enemy that could prevent your fleet from retreating?" "No." "Have you ever met a civilization that could destroy your most powerful dreadnought and not even show an energy signature while doing it?" The alien Regent's crystal form seemed to dim. "What do you want from us?" Alex stood up and walked closer to the screen. "I want you to understand something very important, Regent. Humanity isn't just another species you can bully into submission. We're the species that learns from every fight we've ever been in." Communications Officer Tony Garcia looked up from his station. "Sir, we're receiving surrender requests from over 200 ships in their fleet. Individual captains are asking to withdraw from the collective." "Interesting," Alex mused. "It seems your iron unity isn't as strong as you thought, Regent." On the screen, Vex Thaler turned to speak with his officers in their own language. The translator couldn't handle their rapid, panicked conversation, but their body language was clear enough. They were scared and confused. "Commander Stone," the Regent said when he turned back, "perhaps we can reach some sort of agreement. The collective is reasonable. We can discuss terms." "Oh, now you want to discuss terms," Tony Garcia said with a laugh. "Funny how your attitude changed after we demonstrated our capabilities." Alex raised a hand to quiet his communications officer. Regent, here's what's going to happen. Your fleet will withdraw from our solar system immediately. You will cease all aggressive actions against any species, whether they're part of your collective or not. That's impossible, Vexithalar protested. The collective spans 12 star systems. We have millions of beings who depend on our protection and organization. Then you should have thought about that before you decided to threaten genocide against species that didn't want to join you, Alex replied coldly. Dr. Rogers pulled up new data on his console. Sir, I'm detecting massive internal communications across their fleet. It looks like many of the conquered species are asking for permission to leave the collective. Seems like word is spreading fast, Claire Wilson observed. Alex smiled grimly. Regent, you built your empire on fear and overwhelming force. But what happens when someone demonstrates that your force isn't overwhelming anymore? You cannot expect us to simply release all our member species, Vexthalar said desperately. It would mean the end of everything we've built. Maybe it's time for something new to be built, Alex suggested. Something based on cooperation instead of conquest. Chief Martinez reported from his engineering station. Sir, I'm reading power spikes across their fleet. I think they're trying to charge their weapons again. They can try, Alex said calmly. Claire, if any ship in that fleet shows hostile intent, demonstrate the Void Lance again. Aye, sir. Targeting systems locked and ready. The alien fleet immediately powered down their weapons. Whatever courage they might have had disappeared when faced with a weapon that could erase them from existence without warning. You have 1 hour to decide, Regent Vexthalar, Alex announced. Withdraw and begin the process of giving your conquered species a choice or discover what happens when humanity stops being polite. The transmission ended, leaving the bridge of the retribution in satisfied silence. Outside, 3,000 alien ships sat helplessly, while their crews contemplated a future they had never imagined possible. 30 minutes after Commander Alex Stone's ultimatum, the Zephyrian fleet began to change in ways that no one had expected. Dr. Sam Rogers watched his instruments with growing amazement as ship after ship broke formation and started broadcasting, on different frequencies. Sir, Rogers reported, I'm detecting massive internal communications across their fleet. It's not just ship to ship anymore. Individual crew members are contacting each other directly. What are they saying? Alex asked. Communications officer Tony Garcia worked frantically at his console, trying to sort through hundreds of different alien languages. It's chaos, sir. Different species are talking to each other, sharing information about their homeworlds, and asking questions about independence. Lieutenant Katie Bell looked up from her navigation station with surprise. Commander, 17 ships have just left the main formation. They're heading away from the fleet toward different star systems. Alex walked to the main screen and watched, as the perfect Zephyrian formation began to fall apart. Ships that had maintained precise military spacing for decades were suddenly breaking ranks and moving in different directions. The collective is coming apart, Chief Engineer Bobby Martinez observed. Whatever held them together, it wasn't loyalty. High Regent Vexithalar appeared on the communication screen again, but this time he looked desperate. His crystal face was dim, and several of his arms moved frantically as he tried to control something that was spiraling beyond his reach. Commander Stone, the Regent said urgently, you must help us restore order. The member species are abandoning their posts. Essential services are failing across multiple star systems. That sounds like your problem, not ours, Alex replied coolly. You don't understand, Vexthalar continued. The collective maintains peace across the galaxy. Without our organization, there will be chaos, war, piracy. Millions will die. Officer, Claire Wilson looked up from her weapons console. Sir, I'm reading weapons fire in 3 different sectors. It looks like some of the departing ships are being attacked by collective forces trying to stop them. Alex's expression hardened. Regent, order your ships to stand down immediately. Any ship that fires on vessels seeking independence will be destroyed. You cannot expect us to simply allow our empire to collapse, Vexithalar protested. I expect you to honor the choice you gave us, Alex shot back. You said species could join the collective or be destroyed. Now I'm giving your member species the same choice in reverse. They can stay with you willingly, or they can leave. Tony Garcia's console lit up with new transmissions. Sir, we're receiving direct communications from individual ships. They're asking Earth for protection while they return to their homeworlds. Grant it, Alex ordered immediately. Any species seeking independence gets safe passage. Dr. Rogers pulled up a galactic map showing the current situation. Red dots showed ships in conflict. Yellow dots showed ships seeking independence, and green dots showed ships that had already broken free from the collective. Commander, Rogers said, this is unprecedented. In galactic history, no empire has ever collapsed this quickly. That's because no empire has ever been held together purely by fear before, Alex replied. Take away the fear, and there's nothing left. On the screen, Vexithalar was joined by other alien officials who all looked panicked. They spoke rapidly in their own language before the Regent turned back to Alex. Commander Stone, we are prepared to negotiate a peaceful withdrawal from your solar system, Vexthalar said. But you must understand that if the collective falls completely, the resulting chaos will destabilize the entire galaxy. Then maybe it's time for a better system, Alex suggested. Chief Martinez reported from his engineering station. Sir, I'm detecting 3 ships approaching our position. They're not collective vessels. The design is completely different. Put them on screen, Alex ordered. The display split to show 3 sleek ships that looked nothing like the bulky Zephyrian dreadnoughts. The vessels were elegant and fast, clearly built by a species that valued speed over raw firepower. Human vessel, came a new voice through the communicators. This is Captain Zara of the Altarian Republic. We received your broadcast about species independence. We have been slaves to the collective for 70 years. Alex felt a surge of satisfaction. Captain Zara, this is Commander Stone of Earth. You're welcome to join our discussion with the collective leadership. We do not wish to discuss, Zara replied firmly. We wish to thank the species that has freed us from tyranny. The Altarian Republic declares its independence from the Zephyrian collective. Vexithalar's crystal face flickered, with what looked like anger. The Altarians are still bound by treaties signed decades ago. They cannot simply declare independence. Actually, they can, Alex said calmly, unless you want to try stopping them while we're watching. More ships began arriving from different directions. Each one represented a different species that had been part of the collective, and each one declared its independence. The Terran Republic, the Sigma Confederation, the free worlds of Kepler, dozens of civilizations that had been conquered or coerced into joining the Empire. This is madness, Vexthalar said desperately. These species need our protection. Without the collective, they will fight each other over resources and territory. Maybe, Alex agreed, or maybe they'll learn to cooperate without someone pointing guns at them. Tony Garcia looked up from his communications console with excitement. Sir, we're receiving messages from all over the galaxy. Word about what happened here is spreading faster than light-speed communication should allow. How is that possible? Dr. Rogers asked. Quantum entanglement networks, Garcia explained. The collective uses them for instant communication across their empire. But now the member species are using the same networks to coordinate their independence movements. Claire Wilson's weapons console chimed with new contacts. Commander, I'm reading massive fleet movements throughout collective space. It looks like independence movements are starting on dozens of worlds simultaneously. Alex watched the tactical display as the situation across the galaxy continued to evolve. What had started as a simple confrontation between Earth and the Zephyrian collective was turning into the largest political revolution in galactic history. Regent Vexthalar, Alex said finally, I'm going to give you some advice. The age of empires built on conquest and fear is over. You can either adapt to the new reality, or you can be swept away by it. And what would you suggest? The Regent asked bitterly. Start by treating your remaining member species as partners instead of subjects. Offer them real benefits for staying with you. Trade agreements, mutual defense pacts, cultural exchanges. Build something worth joining instead of something people want to escape from. Vexithalar was quiet for a long moment. Around him, His officers continued to work frantically as their empire collapsed in real time. "And if we refuse?" the regent asked. Alex smiled coldly. "Then you'll discover that humanity has more than one ship like the Retribution." 6 months after the confrontation with the Zephyrian Collective, Admiral Lisa Carter stood in the same war room where Earth had first received its ultimatum. But now the room served a very different purpose. Instead of preparing for humanity's possible destruction, it had become the headquarters for something unprecedented in galactic history. "Ma'am," reported Captain Jake Morrison, now serving as Earth's liaison to the newly independent worlds, "we have 17 more requests for assistance this week. The Andromedan Republic needs help with pirate raids. The Sigma Confederation is asking for trade protection, and the Terran Republic wants our help mediating a border dispute." Carter looked at the galactic map that covered one entire wall of the room. Green lights marked the locations of free worlds that had broken away from the collective. Yellow lights showed neutral zones where Earth ships patrolled to keep the peace. Red lights marked the few remaining collective strongholds where High Regent Vexthaler still maintained control. "What's the status of our fleet?" Carter asked. "We now have 12 ships based on the Retribution design," reported Dr. Elena Vasquez, who had become Earth's chief advisor on galactic affairs. The UES Justice, UES Freedom, UES Guardian, and 9 others. Each one is assigned to protect a different sector of space. Carter nodded with satisfaction. The construction of humanity's new fleet had been faster than anyone expected. Once Earth scientists understood the principles behind spatial manipulation technology, they had been able to improve on the original design. The new ships were smaller, faster, and even more effective than the Retribution. "Any problems with the new crews?" Carter asked. Captain Morrison smiled. "Actually, ma'am, we have the opposite problem. Every officer in Earth Defense Force wants to serve on one of the new ships. Command of a spatial manipulation vessel has become the most sought-after position in the fleet." On the main communication screen, Commander Alex Stone appeared from the bridge of the Retribution. His ship was currently patrolling the outer rim of known space, where former collective worlds were still adjusting to their newfound freedom. "Admiral," Stone reported, "we just resolved a situation in the Kepler system. Pirates had taken hostages and were demanding tribute from merchant vessels. The local defense force was overwhelmed." "How did you handle it?" Carter asked. "We gave the pirates the same choice we gave the collective," Stone replied with a slight smile. "Surrender and face justice or be erased from existence. They chose surrender." Dr. Vasquez consulted her datapad. "That makes 43 pirate groups that have surrendered rather than fight our ships. Word is spreading that resistance is pointless." "Good," Carter said. "The goal was never to rule the galaxy through fear. The goal was to make sure no one else could either." The communication screen split to show Captain Jennifer Cole of the UES Guardian. Her ship was stationed near the old collective border, where some of Vexthaler's remaining forces occasionally tested Earth's resolve. "Admiral," Cole reported, "we've intercepted communications suggesting that some collective commanders are planning coordinated attacks on independent worlds. They think they can force the breakaway species to return if they create enough chaos." "Recommendations?" Carter asked. "Let me have a conversation with whoever is planning these attacks," Stone interjected from his position on the Retribution. "I find that face-to-face discussions tend to be very persuasive." Captain Morrison pulled up intelligence reports on his console. "Ma'am, our sources inside collective space suggest that Vexthaler is losing control of his remaining forces. Some of his commanders think he's been too soft since the confrontation with humanity." "Soft?" Dr. Vasquez laughed. "He lost 3/4 of his empire in less than a week, which is exactly why some of his people think they can do better," Morrison explained. "They believe that if they can prove Earth ships can be defeated, the independent worlds will lose confidence and return to the collective." Carter studied the galactic map more carefully. The red lights representing collective strongholds were clustered in the galaxy's core, where the oldest and most loyal Zephyrian colonies remained. These worlds had been part of the Empire for so long that they couldn't imagine life without it. "What's our intelligence on their current military strength?" Carter asked. "Roughly 800 ships," reported Dr. Vasquez. Still formidable, by old standards, but they're mostly older vessels. The newer ships either joined the independence movements or were destroyed when local commanders tried to prevent defections. Captain Cole's image on the screen showed concern. Admiral, there's something else. We're detecting massive energy readings from the collective core worlds. It looks like they're building something new. Weapons? Carter asked. Unknown, Cole replied. But whatever it is, it's big and it's using technology we haven't seen before. Commander Stone leaned forward on his bridge. Probably trying to develop their own spatial manipulation weapons. The question is whether they understand the science well enough to avoid blowing themselves up. Should we be worried? Captain? Morrison asked. Carter was quiet for a moment, thinking. Elena, what's your assessment of the former collective species? Are they stable on their own? Dr. Vasquez consulted her reports. Better than expected, actually. Most of them are forming cooperative agreements with their neighbors. Trade is flourishing, and we've seen very few territorial disputes. It turns out that when species aren't being forced to compete for resources, they tend to get along much better. And the piracy situation? Down by 70% across all sectors where our ships patrol, Morrison reported. Most of the remaining pirates are small-time operations that surrender as soon as they see one of our vessels. Carter made her decision. Commander Stone, take the Retribution and investigate these energy readings from the collective core. I want to know what they're building. Aye, ma'am. What are my rules of engagement? Same as always. Give them a chance to explain themselves. If they're building weapons to attack independent worlds, convince them to stop. If they won't listen to reason... Understood, Stone replied grimly. Captain Cole spoke up from her position near the border. Admiral, permission to accompany the Retribution with the Guardian? Granted. 2 ships should be enough to handle whatever the collective is planning. As the communication ended, Carter turned back to the galactic map. The transformation of known space over the past 6 months had been remarkable. Instead of one massive empire controlling everything through fear, the galaxy now consisted of dozens of independent civilizations working together through choice. Ma'am, Captain Morrison said quietly, do you think this new system will last? History shows that empires usually reform under new leadership. Carter smiled as she watched the green lights on the map representing free worlds. Jake, that's exactly why we built more than one ship like the Retribution. Anyone who tries to rebuild an empire through conquest is going to discover that humanity takes a very dim view of that sort of behavior. Dr. Vasquez looked up from her datapad with a satisfied expression. You know, Lisa, 6 months ago we were facing extinction. Now we're the guardians of galactic freedom. It's remarkable what humans can accomplish when we set our minds to it. The Zephyrians thought we would negotiate out of weakness, Carter reflected. They never imagined we would negotiate from a position of overwhelming strength and choose to use that strength to protect others instead of conquering them. Maybe that's what makes us different, Morrison suggested. Other species see power as a means to control. Humans see it as a responsibility to protect. Carter nodded as she watched the status reports flowing in from across the galaxy. Somewhere out there, Commander Stone and Captain Cole were preparing to remind the remnants of the collective why threatening independent worlds was a very bad idea. The galaxy had learned an important lesson about humanity. They had discovered that when humans said they came in peace, they meant it. But they had also learned that human peace was enforced by the most dangerous ships anyone had ever seen. And that was exactly how Admiral Carter wanted it to stay.